The Habs just pulled off their first move of the trade deadline season in 2023, trading Evgenii Dadonov at 50% retained for Dallas Stars forward Denis Gurianov. I'll be breaking this whole trade down on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's first news edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse. We'll probably have some more news later in the day, breaking down this trade a little bit further, plus whatever news. But the big news that I wanted to bring to you guys right now is the Canadiens have acquired forward Denis Gurianov from the Dallas Stars in exchange for forward Evgenii Dadonov. And on the surface, this seems like a pretty good deal for Montreal. Evgenii Dadonov is going to help Dallas in the playoffs now, while Denis Gurianov has had a bit of a down year. The former 12th overall pick has shown flashes of really, really good play for Dallas, but they're ready to maybe try and compete, and they're ready to move on from him. Eric Engels actually breaks this down very well. If we take a look here, he says, Dadonov for Gurianov is a good gamble for Hughes and the Canadiens, an uber-talented player who will have an opportunity to play free under Martin St. Louis. His hockey sense and defensive commitment have left the Stars wanting at times, but if he can be inspired in Montreal, that could validate his $2.9 million QO. He'll have the opportunity here he wasn't getting in Dallas, and Pete DeBoer gets a player he knows well, likes, and will use. Of course, Pete DeBoer used to coach Evgenii Dadonov in Vegas. That Dallas moved Gurianov and got salary retained in Dadonov, gives them a bit more space. Every penny counts, and I think that's a great point. Denis Gurianov, like I said, was the former 12th overall pick in the NHL draft, and he has shown incredible talent in just his his first full season in the NHL. He was a 20-goal scorer in 64 games. Last couple seasons, he was on pace for almost 20 in 2020-2021, and then he only scored 31 points in 70-odd games last year, and this year just the 9 points in 43 games. But the thing with Denis Gurianov is when you watch him play, his pure skill is phenomenal. This is a guy that will garner a lot of attention when he's on the ice. However, like Eric Engels said, and some Dallas fans have been saying, his effort at times maybe hasn't always been at 100%. His defense definitely isn't his strong suit. And his hockey sense. He makes some boneheaded plays every now and then. But, what's really that different from Evgenii Dadonov if you're a Montreal fan? Dadonov, played a bit of PK earlier in the year, but his defense has not been that great, all things considered. So, I'm really not upset at all with this trade. In fact, I think it's a very, very good deal for Montreal, especially considering that Denis Gurianov is only 25 years old. Dadonov is much older, better for a competing team, but Gurianov, like Eric Engels said, is a great fit on a Montreal team where he's 25 years old. He fits the timeline of Montreal pretty well, and he has potential to play free, to play himself, and not have to fit into any system. With so many players injured, Gurianov has the potential to show, like, his skill level. If he can put things together, he could easily be a middle six, if not top six forward, for years to come. So I think being able to play in Montreal under Martin St. Louis, to show his goal-scoring prowess, to really try and drive the offense through him, could be very, very valuable. Now, of course, one of the main issues with Denis Gurianov right now is that he is a free agent at the end of this season with a $2.9 million qualifying offer. Essentially, that means at the end of this season, another team can offer a contract to him, and if he accepts, we'll get another Jesperi Kotkaniemi situation where if another team signs him to an offer sheet. That really doesn't happen much in the NHL, though it's happening a lot more now in the last few seasons. But Montreal have to pay a minimum of $2.9 million to keep him around, and a guy who's on pace for less than 20 points, maybe 16, 17 points in an 82-game season, who's supposed to be quite talented, that's a bit iffy. But if you're Montreal, I think it's a good gamble. You can bite the bullet. You can maybe sign him to a bridge deal, right? He's an RFA. You try and get a couple more years out of him at a decent price, or maybe you want to lock him up long-term at a really low price tag. Who knows what Kent Hughes has in his mind right now, because I was pretty surprised when I read about this trade. Not surprised that the Habs moved Dadonov, but surprised that Denis Gurianov is coming to Montreal, because he's a player that I've always kind of enjoyed watching. He's a fun player to watch. And I mean, it makes sense for Dallas, but I always thought that Gurianov had a lot more potential than he was able to show with the Stars. So Montreal's plan now, moving forward, what is it? Is it to keep Gurianov long-term? It has to be, right? I mean, they retained 50% of Dadonov's $5 million salary, so they kept $2.5 million on the books. Well, I guess it's less than that, because as the season goes on, the salary cuts down and down, so it's probably like $1 million or something left, or $1.5 million. But Gurianov, will he stay in Montreal long-term? And I want to know your guys' opinions in the comments, because right now I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure out if Kent Hughes made this as sort of a long play, to have this 25-year-old Gurianov locked up until he's, almost 30, maybe a 3-4 year extension, who knows, to stay in Montreal, because right now his price has never been lower unless he starts playing really well the rest of the way. So maybe this is an opportunity for Gurianov to play some really high minutes. I mean, look at the lines we're running. Rem Pitlick is a top 6 forward these last few games. You're telling me Gurianov can't fill in up there? No, Gurianov easily can fit into the Habs top 6 with the injuries right now. So I think he could play up there, and if he plays well for the rest of the season, maybe he can get some more money. It's decent for Gurianov as well, getting an opportunity to be one of the players. It's crazy. A guy with 9 points in 40-odd games. I know it really doesn't seem like he should be the focus of attention for us Montreal fans, but he really can be because, like I said, he's a guy with a ton of skill. Still has a good bit of potential, if you ask me, and he's getting put in what is, in my opinion, maybe the best situation for him in the NHL right now in Montreal. No, they're not going to win this year, but he's able to put up some points, probably get a bit more money for himself, and if Montreal really likes him, maybe they can hold on to him for the long term at a really, really cheap price tag. So, all in all, I think this is a very, very good deal for Montreal. No fans are going to miss Dadonov. Really appreciate what he did for Montreal. He managed to, scrape his way back, play a little bit better as we approach this trade deadline season. So, good for him that he's heading to Dallas where he can show off his skills a bit more. And, Dallas taking another Russian winger from Montreal, flashbacks of Alexander Radulov. But, hey, you know what? Dadonov can go play in Dallas where he'll be on a better team. And Gurianov gets a fresh start in Montreal where he can hopefully prove to the fans that he has something left to give. But that'll do it for this edition of Habs Digest. Again, we'll probably have another edition a bit later in the day. This is just the first trade. I don't know if Montreal's going to be making any more trades today. The trade deadline's not for a little bit anyway, but I felt like I needed to make this video to talk to you guys, get your guys' opinion on this Dadonov and Gurianov trade. And again, quick reminder to subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 5,000 subs, so if you're still around at this point in the video, hit the button if you haven't hit it yet. It'd be really appreciated. I'm your host, Josh Gosse. We'll catch you in the next one.